It's an honor to hear your story and your perspectives. As a student in the School of Geography, there's a few points that you touched on about where we take this as a community here today and as a larger global community. And the first thought that I had in response was when we're talking about, are we going to continue to see this investment in extracting natural resources, specifically fossil fuel based and these large oil companies? And I think that as a community within Africa, we have a role in the international political arena to take a leadership role, specifically in light of the fact that we're moving into a new phase in the post-Kyoto phase. And I think that in the international political arena, there's been a resistance of kind of a developing nation bloc to take a stand and make commitments where we're saying that as African nations or developing nations across the world, we are going to set these voluntary commitments. And it's one arena which perhaps is not. It sets the agenda on a global scale, but I do think that African nations have a very strong, a very important responsibility to play in the next 2 years, where we're saying that we no longer want to invest in these fossil fuel-based industries, and that they are viable and proven alternatives which do not require us to have carbon-based economies. So I think that's what one of our roles is in December in Durban, that we can really push for that agenda where we need to bring to, for example, South Africa needs to bring the G77 together and say that we are not going to step back and say developed nations should take a stand first, that we need to put forward our commitments. The other thing that one of the most prominent points that you made was about value systems, and I think that comes to the heart of the challenge that we will be faced as we see the impacts of climate change unfold in the next few decades. And you spoke about our spiritual connection to the land, and I think essentially, if we are what we require on an international scale is to have a change of perspective of what we value as success, and I think that we need to really foster these stories about what it actually means on a daily basis of connecting with our land and connecting with our community, and somehow foster that to become part of a consciousness on a global scale. And I think because of the nature of the challenges that we face on a landscape level, if we're going to be in Pan-Africanist movement, the state boundaries are not according to biomes, and I think that there's much to be said about bringing this agenda within the Pan-Africanist vision. And my last thought was, when we're speaking about the importance of civil society standing up, recently I was living in South Africa before I came here, and there was Shell wanted to engage in fracking in the Karoo, and there was an enormous response by civil society, backlash to and opposition to this proposal, and it was halted. And I think this is an example of where the voice of communities who are farmers, and it leveraged an enormous amount of support within the country, and it was successful in its endeavor, at least for now. We'll see what happens in the future, and I think that's something where we can draw inspiration from. So I think that as many of us are students in the room today, one of the more practical aspects that we can draw from is that we are in the position where we are involved in research, and we need to foster this empirical, thick description of the lessons that are being channeled from Africa. And I think if we continue to support channeling these stories, that is one role that we can play within this room in the immediate future.